Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check another set of runs for Tower Floor 110 with F2P builds. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So it's time to check Blue. Blue is probably one of the most challenging ways to build characters if you restrict yourself to only use F2P supporters, especially on tower, because the thing is we have a bunch of different over here a bunch of different types of enemies: human, machine, and demon. And that's really bad because we don't have that many options for generic damage increase. We have specialized damage increase pretty easily. There's the big three. Some of them are pay to win, but two of them are not pay to win. They are permanent supporters, but some of them are F2P in the form of Onigumo and Mido Haruka. But you don't want to use that on this particular floor because we have, well, all the kinds of enemies, and that damage is not going to be applied to the other two types. So what can we use? What can we take advantage of that give us good value? Because while there are very good supporters, even F2P supporters like Yusuriha, maybe let's say Maika, there's a bunch of good supporters. There's plenty of reasons why you don't want to use them. First and foremost, Tower 110, the enemies are pretty bulky and they do a lot of damage. So you already have to have a good awakening in the first place. You could use Maika, yes, sure. But your character needs to be able to debuff. Either use a Momochi weapon, that's an option, or have a character who naturally debuffs with their skills. And also you want a character who abuses skills. If you don't use a character who abuses skills and uses basics or the basic enhancer, then this one gives you less value. So careful with this one. While it's useful, it is not the best option. Then we have Kento and Reina, of course, the classic combo Keito Reina. Where is Reina? Here's Reina. So Keito Reina is an excellent combo that you want to use if you are using a ranged character. But that means that you can only apply this combo with characters that have range attacks, really good range attacks. Otherwise, you're not getting damage out of this. And also you want Keito on the main, just to remind you of that. Then, fortunately, machines do have an excellent option in Uraru. She gives a 36% damage increase. But even so, like, there are not many machines who like to go blue. You can do Blue Emily, but she's slow, to say the least. Even well built, she's gonna be pretty slow if you don't use premium weapons. So even with premium weapons, she doesn't deal enough damage to quickly beat the enemies, because blue gives critical rate with the with the pure color skill. So that's an issue. Haru, while it's really good for Total War, it is not the kind of support that you want to use all the time, even though it's F2P. Then we have the good ones. Let me show you the good ones. We have Sakuya and Nana in case you need damage reduction for Protect type characters or Demon type characters. You have the option of Lilim. Excellent. One of the best supporters that you can use. But again, limited to Protect. That's pretty bad. Then we have Reina, as I mentioned. We have Ayumu. Okay, Ayumu is pretty bad. It's usable, but for the most part, it's bad. Because it has a 5% chance to deal 200% additional damage. And you want to see that on a skill, but the skills have cooldowns. So what are the chances of you actually landing that multiplier in your skill? It is not the best option. You could use it for a basic attack, fast basic attack abuse strategy, but I wouldn't recommend it. Not to mention that you have to debuff the enemy, just like Maika. Then we have Arabella. Excellent option, but you have to have good natural damage on your character, because otherwise the mobs are gonna be too bulky. This is just to destroy the boss, because the bosses are bulkier than the enemies, but the enemies are bulky here. So you cannot equip this unless you're able to easily clear, or you shouldn't, unless you're able to easily clear the waves of enemies. Then we have Gwendolyn, which is pretty bad because the numbers are too low. If these were higher, it would be good. But it is supposed to be a defensive option that you want to dodge a lot. So, yeah, even so, I do not recommend it. Let's not talk about poor Mifuyu here. And then, let's see. What else do we have that is F2P? Oh, yeah. We have Akina. Akina, okay, it is a decent option if you have no healing. But it is, you have to have insane damage for that. Otherwise, you are missing damage. And Karen, again, another one that you do not want to use. Sorry. So, as you can see, there's basically just a handful of useful supporters. We have Akina, Reina, Keito, Lilim, Ravella, Nana, and Sakuya. So that limits our option. You want to be using demons, you want to be using protected characters, and you want to be using ranged characters. And if your character has enough damage, you may as well use Arabella. That's an option. So in this case, I'm gonna use Ingrid. Ingrid has really good natural damage. That's why I can use this. She also has Blue Lightsaber, which is a very F2P weapon that gives you a ton of critical damage. It basically pairs with the damage that you can deal with your weapon. It is amazing. So, 5 out of 5 and plus 15 with critical damage Magatamas, whatever attack Magatamas with whatever weapon on the subslot. Remember that this doesn't matter, and usually the PvP weapons will give you more raw stats, and that's what matters on this section. Then we have Dark Flame to deal AoE damage. We have Evil Heart Blaze to deal AoE damage, and Blink Emblem to just buff myself so that I can deal more damage with these two. Then we are taking advantage here of the fact that my skills, or well, at least two of them, are range attacks, and that I'm using a critical build to equip Reina so that I can deal more damage. Yeah, I could also go with Keito. I could. But it only gives me the damage, it says increased damage dealt with range attacks on snare enemies. Not always the enemy is going to be snared. So that's why I don't use this one. This gives me a 30% damage increase. It's bigger, and it's in any instance of damage. So it's way better. Lastly, we have Akina, because Ingrid doesn't have healing. I mean, you require this or you're gonna die, unfortunately. If you don't feel comfortable with this, you can change one of these two, whichever you want, for either Nana or Sakuya, so that you become bulkier and you have a more balanced build. But since I'm using the active here that provides a ton of debuffs, it is a pretty good way to just get control over the enemy. Stats of the customs, start training, and let's do a run. Yeah, this one is pretty good, pretty good. The only thing is that you have to be a little bit careful in certain parts, because as I mentioned, she doesn't have healing. So you have to properly use her, where is it? The skill, no, not the skill, how can I say it? The passive of the supporter. You have to lure the enemy, get an attack, then evade a ton, and then I activate it, just like that. Is exactly what you want to do. Okay, done. It is kind of boring, but it is the best thing that I can do while restricting myself to pure F2P. I mean, the best option is just to use the super amazing seasonal supporter, which people F2P, new F2Ps won't be able to get, unfortunately, because that's the way it works. Massacre Grenade, that's the supporter that you can use, and you won't struggle with healing that way. It is just too easy. I'm just gonna use this, and I'm gonna use this, and I'm going to lure the enemy so that it takes the most damage possible. Yeah, just like that. Come over here. Yeah, just by controlling the movement of the enemy, I'm able to make sure that it takes a ton of damage. Yeah. And just a couple hits, and I can destroy this. Should I? Nah, I can. I'll use it on the next wave. The ultimate. Come on, come on. There. Oh, wait, don't do that. Well, it doesn't matter how much they deal, because at the very end, I'm gonna be able to heal myself, so... There. And I just come over here again. And done. Heal. And I just wait, and nice, it is stunned. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, there. I wait. And I wait a little bit so that I can heal myself, since I receive a hit. Yeah, there's a window where you won't be able to receive a healing. It seems I just got hit on that window, so careful with that. There. And even so, it doesn't matter. I can take advantage of those mobs, since they don't deal as much damage. It's a nice moment to just heal myself. And I'm just gonna use this one. Perfect. And done. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, of course it isn't like the standard for Ingrid. She can clear this way faster. But we are taking a ton of restrictions, and we're using the kind of characters which can abuse the blue supporters, the blue F2P supporters. It is pretty difficult. I really tried with other characters, but they weren't able to manage. They weren't healing enough, even though they have the damage like Micah. But Micah is just too frail. Ingrid is a little bit tankier than Micah. Come on. 1, 2. I'm also gonna use this, and come over here. Yeah, just like that. Excellent. And I just keep attacking. Nice. Perfect. Perfect. And I receive the healing, and well, I wait for the animation. The cooldown for the heal will be down again, so I can just receive a hit and heal myself. But I have to be careful not to receive the kicks. God. Yeah, the kicks are awful. As always. Ingrid is not the... let's say the character with the most super armor. It does have a good amount of super armor, but you have to be careful. Nice. And I just use blink and done. Yeah, the healing. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna lure the enemies. Come on, Kirara, over here. Over here. Yeah, just like that. I love that. Yeah, slow and easy. And I do the same. Since Kirara is so slow, it's very easy to make her, lure her so that she takes a ton of multi-hits from this skill. And I don't even need to use the ultimate. I'll use the ultimate now because, I mean, my skill is gonna be wasted anyways. I'll just do this. Perfect. There. This one too. The active to deal even more damage. And I do this and I walk over there. Yes, yes, yes. Ah, well, anyways. Yeah. Uy, oof. For a moment I thought she killed me. I mean, she doesn't deal enough damage, but that it seemed like she was about to. Well, there's that. There's that. So the next one is gonna be Ragnarok. I mean, Ragnarok is one of the most busted characters in the game, and probably one of the best aspects of her is that she works on every color. Not every one character is able to do that, and Ragnarok is amazing. We're using Ragnarok here, and again we're gonna use Blue Lightsaber. The critical weapons are just amazing for F2P builds, so use them. And whatever weapon, whatever attack Magatamas, Frosty Gale, Icy Zone, Icicle Zone, and Frosty Wind. And guess what? These are range, so that means we're using Reina. So, not only Reina, we're also using Keito. Why Keito and not Lilim? Because she's assist, that's why. So, I'm not gonna rely on the basics. Maybe I do a couple basics, but it's just to break the super armor or chip away the super armor. And lastly, I'm gonna use Arbela. Like I mentioned, when you have enough damage, you can use this easily. And she does have damage thanks to her leader skill and the ability to freeze the enemies. Well, it's not the leader skill, it's the freezing aspect of her skills. The leader skill is very useful for the healing though, so that's why I don't need Akina. Stats of the customs, start training, and let's do the run. So this one is gonna be faster. Still, I want to lure the enemies and then I... Oh, come on. Someone? Anyone? There. That's what I wanted. It's basic and then hold. Yeah, I forgot. Look, she's so strong that it wasn't necessary for me to just evade the explosion of this thing. Or maybe I did. Yeah, I did without noticing. Well, yeah, I have done a couple runs, test runs, and I didn't need to what's the name? I didn't need to let the big machine self-destruct. It is just too easy. Where is the command? Frostwind. It's hold attack. I'll use the active. Perfect. Nice, nice, nice. And then... And done. Yeah, pretty simple. It is amazing how simple this is. And Keito's combo. I love Keito's combo. It's just so good to... let's say immobilize the enemy, snare the enemy. It is one of the best things that you can do. I mean, it is not the best debuff, but it gives you a ton of control, definitely, because the enemy won't be able to touch you in most situations, unless they have like big AoEs or wide range or range attacks. So yeah. Anyways, I don't need to use the ultimate. In fact, so I'll keep the ultimate and I'll use it just to finish with the next wave. So we put ourselves over here and there. I use this and I use the active and I use this one, dealing a ton of damage. And oh my god, well, that's when it doesn't work, when you don't want to see that. Even so, pretty good. I was able to destroy the mobs pretty easily. And oh, second time where the snare is not good. Yeah, you have to be next to the enemies when you want to use Icicle Zone. Okay, done. Yep, pretty simple. I don't even think I want to use the ultimate because I want to hit the enemies while they are frozen so that I can heal myself. So maybe I'll just do this manually. Healing, healing, healing. Yeah, to have a little bit more healing. No, I don't need to. I don't need to keep using the. I don't need to use the ultimate. I mean, yeah, just like that. Perfect. There, nice, and woof, and a ton of damage. Yeah, the enemies are done. Now I just need to be Kirara, which has a little bit of damage reduction since I'm using a demon type character. Like the corresponding boss has damage reduction against their own trait. So Kirara with this outfit is supposed to represent a demon, so she's demon. Murasaki with the machine outfit is supposed to represent machine, so she is has damage reduction against machine, and Nagi has damage reduction against human. Lastly, guess what? A range attacker. Oh, what a surprise! Yeah, I mean, you're bound to use either machine, range attackers, or demons. Uh, human. Human is not an option if you only use event supporters. So, well, technically she's human, but more than anything, she's protector and range attacker. So, let me just load this, and there we go. So, what do I have here? The PP weapon, 5 out of 5 plus 13, not even 15. Whatever critical damage magatemes, whatever attack magatemes, whatever weapon on the subslot. Both weapons, 5 out of 5. This one plus 15, this one plus 13. Fox God's Arrow to deal a ton of damage and heal. The healing is important, for sure. Chosen cause it matches. It's not that it's the best option, it's just that it matches. And Flare of Grudge to gain a huge damage increase. The critical rate is also nice, but not essential. So, for supporters, I mean, what did you expect? Kato, Reina, and Lilin. I already told you the combinations that you can use, but as for the characters, there's few options. We're gonna check them at the very end. Start to the customs, start training, and let's do our run. This one, I mean, it's not gonna be the fastest thing out there, but it is probably the most consistent one. I'll just do this. Come on. There. Nice. Yeah, you're not gonna struggle with healing when using this particular character. It's just too easy. I mean, she does receive a good amount of damage, that's for sure. But it doesn't matter in the end. As long as you're able to gain a little bit of distance, it's fine. And the issue is that there are no event F2P supporters that can give you a little bit more tankiness. There are others, both gacha, seasonal, and other ways of premium. So, yeah. Let's see. Done. Yeah, it does deal a good amount of damage when I combine both Flare of Grudge and this. Chosen. And there, nice. Yeah, Flare of Grudge lasts for very long. I like it, I like it. I could, but I won't. Yeah, let's start with this one. It is not going to kill everyone, so it's fine. So I can just manually destroy everyone. And unfortunately, I cannot start with an attack. I have to wait to react like this. And then I attack. But I was a little bit too far away. Then I use the active. Yeah, this is probably the most dangerous one of the bunch. I mean the boss. Because as I mentioned, she doesn't have the best defense. She has just enough to compensate with her healing when she's maxed out. But if she's not maxed out, then you might struggle. But you can always compensate just by increasing the HP. The HP gives you a ton of value with the enchantment on the supporters. Yeah. Can I just do this? Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2. Oh, I didn't crit. Okay, active. And come on, just a couple more hits. There. Yeah, done. Done. Pretty simple. Because, I mean, Sora was already good with this color. But Flare of Grudge wasn't viable. I think it only used to do the attack increase on green, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be a little bit... It would have been a little bit slower before. But now using Grudge is just amazing. Am I wondering something? But I don't think it's gonna be the most effective thing. But it could work. I will try it later. Let's see. So I start by using my skill and the active, and now that everyone is ensnared, is the right time. Perfect. Okay. Oof. A little bit unfortunate, but can you attack? Yeah, there. I'm gonna use the ulti just cause with the buff. And chosen. Anton? Yeah, Sora is as strong as you think. So, let me talk about some other characters that you might use if you use these limitations. So, first of all, let's check the protect type options. Well, we have an option in a ranged attacker like Aina, which is protect and range. She has healing, but she isn't bulky enough to try this. She isn't as frail as Micah, but even so, she's not bulky enough, and she doesn't have enough damage, particularly on blue. That's the issue. Even with the buffs from the multipliers of the supporters. So that's one thing. Lina, good demon, definitely good option. The only thing is, you are going to take a long time to beat the enemy, because you're gonna go basically with Lilim, and then you use what was the other one? Lilim, Nana, and whatever other supporter that you want. Maybe let's see, Arabella to beat the bosses quickly. But the mobs are gonna be too tanky, and you don't have a particular F2P weapon that is going to help you out with damage. Lapis is also good, but again, she struggles with damage. She's not gonna die, but she's not gonna win either. So yeah, that's an issue. Even though there is the option to actually use Spear Barrage, Moral Boost, and Gem Support. You can use these three and go completely offensive with the classic Kato Reina, and lastly, where is she? Lilim. Kato Reina Lilim, you know, the combo. You could do that with Lapis. I won't deny it, but if you try something different, probably it won't work. I mean, Lapis has enough healing. As long as you have your awakenings. I mean, you also have Nana, so it's fine. Let's see. Other protects like Inage, unfortunate, but Inage is melee and it's human. two traits that are difficult to support. So you only have basically Arbella and what's the other one? And Lilim. Onisaki Kirara, well supported. She has poor healing if she doesn't have the Renal weapon, and she has poor damage too. With the kind of multiplayers that we can give with the F2P supporters. Maika, I mean, excellent. She can do damage, sure, but you're gonna reduce a ton the damage if you put the healing, and even if you put the healing, she still doesn't have the defenses to survive. Trust me, especially with a certain mid-boss Nagi. Well, Shiranui, not the best option. She's lacking in the DPS department on blue. With the kind of supporters we can use. The same. I'm not using her own seasonal supporter or in this, so she wouldn't be good enough. Zoom, the same. She can't. Mirabelle, she actually can. Just so that you know, she can easily do this. But I don't have the PvP weapon, so I decided not to. The thing is, you want definitely, without a doubt, to use on the main Keito. And then you want to equip Akina. Keito Akina. So that in case you receive a stray hit, because she doesn't have great defenses, you can get healing. But at the same time, the enemy isn't going to be on your... near you. I forgot the expression. On your toes, something like that. Because they're going to be snared. They're going to be snared. So that's why we want Kento on the main. Lastly, you can just equip either Lilim or, depending on what you have, you might equip Reina, which is kind of a better option because she's range. Then, let's say that you use Machine, because this is the easy one too. So, Machine, the easy one. There's a few of them. So, we already talked about Mirabelle. The issue here is that they don't work well. Even though we have Uraru just for free. You can use Uraru, by the way, instead of Reina. That's another thing. Even though you can use Uraru for any of these, Emily lacks enough damage on blue, particularly on blue. Her pure color skill doesn't have a multiplier. It has the strong base attack, but the critical rate in exchange. So, yeah. That's not good. She's not gonna die because that particular attack actually heals her. So, yeah, she's not an option. And these ones, if I put Bloom, you're gonna see that there's only Mirabelle, so we cannot use Lilim. And these ones are not ranged. This one is mixed, but these other two are not ranged. So, you cannot use Reina, you cannot use anyone, honestly. So, you only have basically Uraru or Arabella, and that's it. That's the only two supports that you can equip that actually provides you good value. That's the issue. You could use another one, but I mean, as I mentioned, the other ones are not that great. Lastly, for demons, because these are the things that are supported good enough with the F2P supporters, the event supporters. So the thing is, you can only use range because we already analyzed the protect ones. I mean, we didn't analyze particular Kurenai. But she likes to crit a lot. She wants to go with a crit build. And blue is in the crit build. Let me check. Can she do it? It is not a matter of... this one has the damage multiplier, sure. But the Stormfang decreases the enemy defense. No, she can do it. She can do it. Yeah. And this one reduces the target's defense. So you would have for her to use, of course, Nana Lilim and Akina. The issue that she would take a long time, but thanks to the damage reduction, the defense reduction, the debuffs that she applies on her skills, she can do it. Now, let's continue with those demons. Demons. Francis, no. No, no, no. You don't have other ways of damage increase, as I mentioned, because she's melee and she's not blue. And this particular argument is gonna repeat a lot. So same goes for Felicia. Same goes for basically everyone that you didn't see on blue. um, yeah, that's the issue that we have. That's the reason why we cannot. Only the ones. Well, well, well. There's an exception in Ragnarok. Yeah, she's definitely viable because of how busted she is. Um, maybe that's a big maybe. Let's see. I mean, Spinel suffers from the same thing as she's too slow on blue, and she does have the damage, but it's basically the same issue as Micah. Let's see. Oboro, can you do it? Can you do this? Oh, yeah, this skill. I mean, it should have good damage. It doesn't have good damage. The multiplayer says so, but she needs more damage. She of course has the hypnosis seal. She has the mind control over here. So she has two mind controls on flash step and hypnosis seal. Decrease the target's speed, but you want to use the main. So you would use this. She can, but she would be slow, very slow, and you're forced to use Akina. You would use wait a moment. The color, the melee. No, she cannot. She cannot. She cannot. You see, there's a bunch of issues with this. Technically, the only demons that have a chance, other than the ones that I mentioned, would be the ranged ones, like Astaroth, but she doesn't have healing. Kirara doesn't have enough damage, nor she has healing. Eleanor doesn't have healing. So you see the issue? Phantasma doesn't have healing on blue. No. Besides, Phantasma, particularly in blue, becomes kind of melee. Melee Impaling Terror. Yeah, Succubus Whisper, of course, but you're not gonna use this one. Maybe Mirror, but you want to use Twister, actually, rather than Mirror. That is melee. So, yeah, Phantasma won't do it on blue. Not at least with those limitations. Anyways, that's about it for today. I hope you find this useful. This was particularly thorough since it's more challenging than the other ones. But I hope this helps you out to be able to clear this with restrictions or with the supporters that you have. So, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!